have another. A specific type of warfare designed to distract, misinform,
but trust me,
and anesthetize the brain. It has many disguises and is used against every one of them.
아울러 기업의 목적은
Their goal?
이윤의 극대
Maximum
활용.
profit.
Okay. Together with that, there is another process. Law enforcement, law and order organization and structure is being eroded. For the last 20, 25 years, if you see old movies and new movies, you can see that in new movies, a policeman, an officer of the United States Army looks dumb, angry, psychotic, paranoid. A criminal looks nice, kind of, well, he smokes hash and shoots the whatever drug, but basically he's a nice human being. He's creative. And he's unproductive only because society oppresses him. Whereby a general of Pentagon is always, by definition, a dumb, a war maniac. A policeman is a pig, rude policeman. He abuses his power. You know? A generality, generalization like that. The hatred, the mistrust to the people who are supposed to protect you and enforce law and order. Moral relativity. The Angelo Buono process lasted 2 years in Los Angeles. Relativity. The Angelo Buono process lasted 2 years in Los Angeles. And yet there are still some lawyers who say, look, he's a nice character, as a matter of fact. There was some witness who said, also a criminal, who said, well, he's a nice guy. I asked him one day to burn a house of my enemy, and he wouldn't do it. He's a nice fella. Erosion. A slow substitution of basic moral principles, whereby a criminal is not a criminal, actually. He's a defendant. Even if his guilt is proven, there is still a doubt. To kill or not to kill, to be or not to be. Thou shalt not kill, yes. But this line may not necessarily be applicable to a murderer. Thou shalt not murder. That should be the presumption, not that thou shalt not kill. Okay, labor relations. At this stage, within 15 to 20 years, we destroy the traditionally established links of bargaining between employer and employee. The classical Marxist-Leninist theory of natural exchange of goods. A person A has 5 sacks of grain and person B has 5 pairs of shoes. And the natural exchange without money is when they bargain between each other. And only with the introduction of the third force, C, an entirely third foreign stranger who says, no, don't give him 5 sacks of grain, give it to me, and you give me your 5 pairs of shoes, and I will distribute it accordingly, so that the economy will go. This is the death of natural exchange, death of natural bargaining. Well, trade unions were established 100 years ago. The objective was to improve working conditions and to protect the rights of workers from those employers who were abusing their right because they had more money. Objectively, at that time, initially, the trade union movement did work. What we see now is that the bargaining process is no longer resulting in the compromise, which is leading objectively to betterment of working conditions and increase of salary. What we see is that after each prolonged strike, the workers lose. Even if they have 10% increase of their salaries, they cannot catch up due to inflation and due to missed time. More than that, millions of people suffer from that strike because economy now is interdependent. It's intertwined like one body. If previously steel workers, say 100 years ago, could strike and nobody would suffer. Now it's impossible anymore. If a garbage collector strikes today, the rest of the multi-million city is stinking.
It wouldn't even be hard to begin the process of fixing things, of bringing actual unity to a country that badly needs unity.
The word consensus is always used as a plus word. Unity is always used as a plus word. Anything divisive, very bad word. Bipartisan, very good. Partisan, not so good. Cretinism, bullshit, nonsense. The building of a false consensus and the burying of history and the burying of dialectic every day before your eyes in the name of the ideology of objectivity. Who here remembers hearing Ronald Reagan, seeing him called a great communicator in print in a news story? Hands up, anybody? Quite a few. Who remembers hearing him called a liar in a news story? Well, that Ronald Reagan is a great communicator is a value judgment. That Ronald Reagan was a liar is an objective statement of fact. That's why you read the one in the news story and not the other. And that's the ideology of objectivity right there for you.
Yeah. You know, Juan, I express my opinions here. This is a discussion show. We don't pretend to be hard news, as esteemed as that is. Yet these are people.
It's a lie.
The press are like children, overjoyed that mommy's deadbeat boyfriend finally moved out of the house.
You know, you discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about that. I just know it's a laptop, and they haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in your rallies. I
don't know about the two gentlemen you mentioned.
This is the most important issue in the country.
It's a very important issue to find out whether or not a man's corrupt.
You believed that it was Hunter Biden that dropped off these laptops. It's now, didn't they, since all of this broke, didn't they call you and ask for the laptops back?
Surprisingly, no. Nobody's approached me to collect the machine.
Yeah, see, this is why, when we look at this stuff, you cannot trust this industry. This industry that we are in is the lead, because you watch them just transform.
So let's be prepared not to be hysterical about this. Let's be artistic. Let's be ironic. After all, when Picasso was visited in his studio in occupied Paris by a Gestapo officer who was told to make nice with him, and there was a canvas of a sketch of Guernica on the wall, the Gestapo critic rocked on his heels in front of it and said, "That's very good. Did you do that?" Picasso said, "No, you did." We don't have to be crude. We don't have to be crude. We don't have to be rough, but we ought to be ready to earn the title of anti-fascist for ourselves, and we ought not to be scared of the fighting words, the alleged fighting words of others, of the scum of the earth, of the fat fucks like Rush Limbaugh, and the pimps and pensioners of the state like Oliver North and Gordon Liddy. We should rather be getting ready with some fighting words and some fighting gestures of our own. Thank you.
Okay, but for purposes of discussion, the officer gave this Cuban, this agent in Paris, a device with that material you described in it. I presume the material, if injected into a human being, would kill him. Is that correct?
I would think so, yes.
So the agent gives the Cuban agent the device to kill somebody.
I'm sorry I didn't give him a pistol, because it would have made the whole thing a lot simpler and less exotic.
Well, whether it's a pistol or a needle, if AMLASH is a political plot to destabilize the government, what in the blazes are we giving an agent a device that will kill Castro with for if it's not an assassination plot?
Well, if you want to have it that way, why don't you just have it that way?
Well, I don't want, it's not a question of what I want.
I think it is what you want, Mr. Dodd.
Mr. Helms, I'm reading to you from reports here, prepared at your request by the Inspector General.
I understand
I'm not fabricating this or creating out of all my...
I understand that.
I'm quoting.
I understand that.
Well, it's not a question of what I want. It's a question of what this committee would like to know, and the committee is not satisfied, I don't believe at this point, as to exactly what the characterization of AMLASH was.
Well, I've told you what I believe the characterization of AMLASH to be.
Well, how does that jive with this?
If because we gave him a gun or a hypodermic syringe or whatever the case may be at his request because he had aims on Castro, if that is your definition of an assassination plot, then have it that way. That's quite satisfactory with me.
It wasn't for want of trying in Castro's case, of course, but that's the only case in which there was any substantial effort made against one. And yet, I think the world as a whole thinks that CIA was around trying to assassinate everybody, and it's just plain false.
Patrice Lumumba comes back to Leopoldville a prisoner. The former Congo premier, who was captured when he fled inland, no longer wears the tuft of whiskers on his chin that helped to identify him. His arrest provoked several clashes between Lumumba followers and Congolese army troops. But Congo's strongman, Colonel Joseph Mobutu, shown as he watches Lumumba arrive, says he is prepared to put down any uprising.
The Russian army is equipped with literally several thousand fairly modern main battle tanks, and it's central to their way of war.
Before the war started, this was unimaginable. Outgunned and outmanned Ukrainians stopping a Russian armored column in its tracks. U.S. officials estimate the Ukrainians have destroyed several hundred armored vehicles, which are the heart of Russian military power. Says one of the weapons that has slowed the Russian momentum is the American-made Javelin anti-tank weapon, which the U.S. is shipping to Ukraine by the thousands.
Двинулась колонна в сторону Києва. Колонна була велика, була організована засідка, була розбита голова колони. Колона навіщувала на тому напрямку близько.
Once the operator launches the weapon, the missile takes over and flies itself, so the operator can seek cover.
Can it actually destroy a tank?
Absolutely. It's a very destructive and very effective weapon.
Улица Саперная, Тигр. 2 штуки пока вижу. 3-й ползет, солдаты крадутся с автоматами на изготовку. Ебать, с тяжелого стреляют в сторону домов. С гранатомета сейчас бьет. Пиздец, стреляй. Ебать.
«27 февраля, 7 утра, даже 8. Ну и что хотите сказать, ребятки?
Нормально, нормально. Уходит, налево уходи, уходи. Он видит, да, все нормально.
Есть.
Так, иди сюда. Конечно, ребята, да. Ну не сидите, что вот посидят, туда вдруг проходите. И на взлет по обороне, и вперед.
Есть.
Мангус, я Дунай, да, принял. Вот он, заход. Пошли, все! Второй этаж проверили! 6-101, 6-32.
Атака спереди. Стингер.
Да. Машины, скажи, чтобы машины не трогали, людей гражданских не трогали. Да. Так, стоп.
Fired from ground level, the Javelin first pops up and then dives down on the tank.
It will come in on the target from a high angle of attack and hit the roof of the tank where the armor is very thin.
The U.S. is one of 15 countries shipping tens of thousands of anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. You can see the Ukrainian soldiers carrying them into combat. Not all of them are as sophisticated and deadly as the Javelin, but in the right hands, a rocket-propelled grenade can disable a tank.
You'll get what's called a mobility kill, which means the tank may not be completely destroyed, but it will not be able to move, and it can be targeted with other weapons at that point.
What's it like to go up against a tank when you're on foot?
It's very, very terrifying for an infantry soldier. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of determination to fight tanks like that.
The Ukrainians are supplying the courage. It's up to the U.S. and its allies to supply the weapons.
Democracy is just a slogan.
Who owns them?
What happened to this man as a child? What did America do to him? Is he a psychopath? No. He is simply reinterpreting the Western cult of death he grew up with for new generations of consumer zombies who crave seeing their fellow humans mutilated in new and inventive ways. And shopping. Always shopping. This is a perfect metaphor for America, where the real survivors are the millions of homeless people who don't get to go home after filming.
It wouldn't even be hard to begin the process of fixing things, of bringing actual unity to a country that badly needs unity.
The word consensus is always used as a plus word. Unity is always used as a plus word. Anything divisive, very bad word. Bipartisan, very good. Partisan, not so good. Cretinism, bullshit, nonsense. The building of a false consensus and the burying of history and the burying of dialectic every day before your eyes in the name of the ideology of objectivity. Who here remembers hearing Ronald Reagan, seeing him called a great communicator in print in a news story? Hands up, anybody? Quite a few. Who remembers hearing him called a liar in a news story? Well, that Ronald Reagan is a great communicator is a value judgment. That Ronald Reagan was a liar is an objective statement of fact.
Whether it was a Nazi salute or a wave is unclear, but Trump fanatics have been known to yell "Hail Donald Trump" and "Sieg Heil" at the Republican nominees' rallies.
The tabloid newspaper The Sun, expressing its disappointment, the palace said it is disappointing that film shot 8 decades ago
during Hitler's reign in the 1930s.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, I have a tremendous following. We want to make America great again. It's a strong following. I don't know about the Hitler comparison. I hadn't heard that, but it's a terrible comparison. I'm not happy about that, certainly. I don't want that comparison.
If you ask what we are actively fighting for under our charter, first, a social just white Gentile-ruled United States.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
Well, maybe so, but I mean, I have a tremendous following. We want to make America great again. It's a strong following. I don't know about the Hitler comparison. I hadn't heard that, but it's a terrible comparison. I'm not happy about that, certainly. I don't want that comparison. Well, maybe so, but I mean, I have a tremendous following. We want to make America great again. And I hadn't heard that, but it's a terrible comparison. I'm not happy about that, certainly. I don't want that comparison.
From being allowed to be shown on Fox News.
Narrative that a Make America Great Again hat is akin to wearing some Nazi uniform is patently ridiculous and it's offensive. Liberals who used to love discourse, I remember them when they used to love to debate. They now prefer the easier route. Just call someone a Nazi or a closet KKK member and you're done.
Airports, you hear her say that. Quote, fealty to white supremacist organizations as a political tool. What does that even mean? We're not even sure who she's talking about. Apparently the Republican Party and its Grand Kleagle Kevin McCarthy of California. That millions of American citizens are terrorists. Now, they're the threat, and we need to hunt them as we hunted al-Qaeda.
And yet, sadly, there's still a partisan reaction to this, some denying that the threat is real and that the lie behind the threat is dangerous.
American citizens are more dangerous than foreign terrorists. They're literally declaring war on their own population. How's that going to end? So this really is the time to make a decision about how to respond to it. What our leaders do next will define what America looks like going forward.
Education. Distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare.
Thus far and no further.
And shopping. Always shopping for the latest fashions and trends.
Who owns them?
This is why they promote globalization, the new slogan for empire. It allows them to promote their symbols, also known as brands, by using slave labor in third world countries. These imperial brands are a symbol of value and meaning, like a flag. But their only allegiance is to profit, not country. And shopping, always shopping for the latest fashions and trends.
Who owns them?